Yep, going cash. Welcome to the Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee, Monday, April 16th. I'm so glad you're able to join me here this morning. I'm owner of Trade Show Guy Exhibits, a project management company here in Salem, Oregon. Also have run the Trade Show Guy blog for coming up on 10 years. I think the first post was either November or December of 2008. Like 700 posts. Although I know some people that have done, 5 or 10 times that in the same amount of time. So probably not something I should brag about it. But, consistency for its own sake, I guess. Hey, a couple of housekeeping notes before we get to today's fun interview. First, set a release for May 1st for my new book, Trade Show Superheroes and Exhibiting Zombies. So watch for an announcement. I'll be doing that in both paperback and Kindle version on Amazon. If you are on my newsletter or if you're on the TradeshowSuperheroes.com newsletter, you'll get notified when that comes out. Although May 1st is, May Day, big day. It's coming up. You probably remember that, but I'm going to remind you anyway. So interestingly enough, on a related note, I just found out this morning when I'm recording this a couple days before that Thunderclap, I was planning to do a Thunderclap. That's where you get a bunch of people to sign up and they would be offering up the use of their social media platforms. And so you combine, 100 people, 200 people with all their social media platforms, and that one announcement goes out to, a couple 100,000 people or 500,000 people. Well, Thunderclap's a cool place, but they just changed some of the rules because Twitter changed some of their rules. So thanks to those rule changes, they cannot promote a commercial entity on their platform, like a book. I know so many people that have done books using Thunderclap, and I'm not able to do that. So that's kind of weird, but that's the case. So I'm looking for other ways to promote it. Maybe there's other platforms that allow you to do that. I don't know. We'll find out. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. But nonetheless, the book is coming out very, very soon. I did get my print proof. Take a selfie. Looks pretty good. It's kind of cool. It's actually longer than my first book by, 20 pages or so. So it's like ever so slightly thicker. I guess thick is good. All right, so that's the thing. So got a fun interview today with designer and booth builder and all-around good guy John-Paull Davidson, JP as we like to call him, or he likes to be called, of Boothster, which is a company that he has founded years ago out of Portland. We'll find out more about this. There's how that interview went. It is my pleasure to speak with John-Paull Davidson of Boothster. JP, nice to see you this morning. Welcome to the Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee.
Thanks, Tim. Great to see you.
And, we've known each other for years. We're in the sort of same area. I'm in Salem. You're in Portland here in Oregon. And so we cross paths and we've done a project or two together, which is kind of fun. But a lot of people may not know what Boothster is, or maybe they do. Well, let's learn what Boothster is, first of all. Tell us about that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I started the company in May. It'll be 11 years. And, our specialty really is we do full service design through fabrication, through shipping, but our specialty is green materials. Really is kind of what our niche is, and we'll occasionally do other things, but that's kind of what we've made our name about. So yeah.
So why did you pick that? I'm just curious. Why green? Was there a market for that at the time, or was it something that you thought that would get attention? There must have been a reason you went that area so strongly.
Yeah, there were a few reasons. In 2007 is when I kind of got it going, and I had been in the industry, either retail, environmental design, and also trade show booth design for many years, and I loved the design side of it, but I just always felt bad about how much waste there was in the industry. And so I just kept thinking, God, it'd be great to be able to do all booths out of green materials. And then I started to get a sense for that. I had a feeling there would be a market demand for it. And I built a website. I just kind of scratched out a website and thought, I'm going to just give this a shot, and uploaded it. And to my surprise, started getting traction, and it's been one project after another of companies that want to do that. So it's been nice. And the other main reason is when you start a company, you want to have some kind of a niche, something that's different. And so there was marketing value there, and just focusing on that. And that was basically the impetus of it. Just that I grew up being sustainable and green and everything, and it's been fun to to see that there are companies that want to do that, and organizations too. So
yeah, well, I think I ran across you shortly after you started it, and I saw a couple of projects that you did that were basically these large, stout cardboard tubes making shelves and struts and back walls and things like that. And I thought, how unique is that? It does fit a lot of exhibitors. I think that they want to use that to tout their green creds, as it were. And so you started with things like that. What other materials came into play?
Well, cardboard tubes was one of the first, certainly, and we found a bunch of those in Argentina on a project. At this print company, we were looking for green printing, and we just saw this huge pile of these really stout shipping tubes. And Dan Lococo, the designer I work with, and I looked at those and we're like, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" We ended up building this big booth in Argentina out of cardboard tubes, and the client loved it, and we just started turning that into a system. And then we've integrated like recyclable PET bottle panels, Falcon boards material you probably worked with. That's a cardboard printable material. Bamboo plywood is one. Soy glue plywood is another one that's now, you can get that at Home Depot. Now it's turning into a ubiquitous material. It's soybeans that they make a glue enzyme out of soybeans somehow, and have replaced formaldehyde based glue in plywoods. So that's some of the main materials we use, and a recycle bin friendly banner material with latex ink is another one that we've started to use. So I'm just always, looking for what's innovative and green and also cost effective. And I just try to, integrate it into every project that I can, really. So,
and I presume you repurpose materials as well. I'm just thinking, I've seen a booth, Keen Shoes out of Portland uses, I think, a Portland company. I'm not even sure which one they use, but their booth, which is huge, I've seen it out the retailer a few times, is nothing but repurposed materials, or 90% of it. And they'll take old guitars and turn them upside down and make tables out of them, and car hoods and make chairs or whatever. I mean, it's very creative stuff, and you can repurpose wood and all sorts of things. Do you look at that much, or is that maybe on an occasional basis?
Yeah, we've done a fair amount of that type of, and that Keen booth is one of the coolest ones I've seen in past years. And yeah, we repurpose, that we have some reclaimed lumber yards that we go to get that kind of material, weathered wood. And we also, we have a cradle to cradle model where we try to reuse actual materials from previous projects. So if I have several partial sheets of actually, here's one right here, bamboo.
We can do this. We're on video, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is probably a little bit too small to do anything with, but it's basically a cut sheet that from a slice of bamboo plywood, and I'll try to integrate that into the next project, so you may not, when you see it in the actual booth, you may not know that it's reclaimed, but it is, and it's cost effective to do that, but it's also, a good conversation piece. The clients get excited about that and stuff. So, but it can be a unique aesthetic with the way they used it in Keen, where it's like you said, like a used guitar or something like that. And so it can be fun to do that for the right brand, for sure.
And your designer, you've been a designer for a long time. Is that, you consider yourself more of a designer than a builder, or just kind of you integrate both of them?
Well, I guess we are more focused on the design side of it, and that front end of the project. And we just have a small shop, and we do sub out a lot of our work, because if the work gets real specialized and you need specific equipment and whatnot, it makes sense to subcontract that out often. So yeah, I'd say we're more front end design oriented as a small company.
Out of curiosity, since you are coming in from the aspect of recycled materials and kind of reclaimed materials, does that keep costs down, or is it about comparable with what a brand new, when they're using brand new materials? Do you find much sense of that?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the pricing of green materials can be comparable to quote unquote standard or new materials. In some cases, it's less. The booths we're doing out of cardboard tubes now, we're able to do for less even than, say, an typical extruded aluminum system. But on occasion, they can certainly be more, because some of the materials are specialized and have an aesthetic quality that's pretty amazing. I mean, bamboo plywood, for example, is probably, can be twice as much in material cost as, say, a birch plywood. But it's pretty negligible. I think that it's a bit of a misnomer these days that a green booth has to be more expensive. There's such a demand for green materials that the material suppliers are making them in quantities that allow them to get the prices down. So, we're always, have an eye out for that. So, I kind of have a laundry list of materials I can go to that are pretty cost effective. So,
and when you first came into the industry with that approach 11 years ago, it seems like the material costs were higher and noticeably higher. And my sense is that they've come down and maybe not equalized, but very close to that in most cases.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. I mean, we kind of focused when I first started on the ones that I could get for lower price, but yeah, it's definitely coming down, and it's nice to see companies and organizations focusing on it and making it a priority, and it's and some of these larger corporations that you wouldn't think are concerned about being green. It's you look at their corporate documents about how they define themselves as a company, and they'll often have a full chapter or page that's all about their sustainability and it's a great way for companies to go green, because I mean, you've probably seen the statistics flying around that the trade show and exhibit industry is one of the most wasteful in the industries out there. It's up there with oil probably.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of shows overseas. I don't think they would do that here in the States, but where they use a booth once and they just trash it, and I've seen pictures of just destroyed booths for acres. It just flabbergasts me, but you're right. And so it's great to see, sustainability, using recycled, reclaimed materials and reusing it for years and readjusting things and making changes to get your money's worth, as well as to use something as much as you can. I think that's great. So
yeah. And I mean, we have this cradle to cradle model where we try to many of the materials as possible are biodegradable or reusable back into the cycle of manufacturing, and the aim is really, the ultimate is biodegradable and non-toxic. So so the idea is to do a booth that you could recycle as much as possible, but at the end of its life, when the materials do wear out, it'll biodegrade back into the environment. That's kind of the ultimate.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit before we wrap up, JP, and that is you do some social media, and I've seen pictures of some of your projects online, and you got to admit that your company's gotten you into some other continents and across down. I think you went to South America at least once or twice. I know you've been into Europe, and so you're posting online things that you've done. It's great to see. So how does social media work for you guys?
Yeah, social media is a great tool. Social media, and I guess overall online. To be honest, I would not have been able to build the company were it not for building a successful online presence in social media. It really does get you out there and kind of helps to define the company as a brand and tell people what you're doing. And it's, those projects that I've done, in South Africa and Argentina and Korea, Japan, those have all been because companies have found us online through social media. I mean, we did a project at Natural Products West for a company in Turkey, and they found us online. And it was really cool. And they saw one of our previous designs, and they loved the cardboard tube system. And and it was just fun working with those guys, so yeah, I got to give my marketing guy a pat on the back for kind of knowing how to do that. But and I chip in, I've learned a bit myself, and I do some of the work myself on the social media.
So let's how's the best way for people to find you? What's your website?
It's boothster.com, BOOTHSTER.com. That's us.
That's it.
Recyclablebanners.com is another.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if they find that, they can probably latch on to your other outlets, whether it's Instagram or Twitter or whatnot, I would guess, from there.
Yeah. There are links on the main site for that. So
yeah. Well, JP, it's always a pleasure to see you, and I appreciate you being on the Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee video / podcast. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Tim. Good to talk to you.
Hey, thanks again to JP for sharing his thoughts on this week's interview on the Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee. Time for this week's Trade Show Tip. If I called it this week's Trade Show Tip of the Week, that would be redundant, I guess. So this is kind of a marketing tip, but it works for trade shows. I like it. There are times when I see trade show booth staffers all wearing like the same t-shirt, the same color t-shirt, branded collared shirt maybe. I always like to look for a couple of reasons, and I think it really works at trade shows. First of all, it's a custom shirt, which means you can put any message on it. I've seen some great shirts that have messages written all across the back, which really gets your attention. I've taken pictures of some. And often the message is related to something very specific to that single day at the show. Like they're promoting a specific product that day. Next day, they're changing it to another product. This is common in the food industry because they got lots of products to push. I've also seen crews change the color of those shirts each day. So by the third day, if you're walking the floor again, you're thinking, I got to go by that booth again and see what color of shirt they have and what message they're pushing. Now, from a practical standpoint, if it's a bigger booth, the color-coded t-shirt approach tells you in an instant what people work for the company and those who don't. In fact, when you go from that booth to a neighboring booth and they're not wearing, the branded t-shirt or other identifying piece of clothing, you kind of go, wonder who works here. Wonder which one it is. So you get a little stumped and wonder who works for the company. So a branded, color-coded shirt works in a couple of ways. All right, so wrap it up with this week's one good thing. I'm going to go way back to, I've been rewatching some of the Star Trek original series. A couple of episodes here, a couple there, just for fun. I remember as a kid watching them. Not when they first originally played, although I was around then. I was a youngster, but they were around. I didn't really catch them until the reruns because, frankly, this may be a weird thing to admit, but where I grew up, there was no TV. We had no TV. We had to play outside and stuff and go skiing and play baseball and ride our bikes and stuff. We couldn't stay inside. But later on, used to watch Star Trek. They would show every afternoon at 4 o'clock reruns for years and years on the local TV station. So that's where I got to really love Star Trek, the original series. I may have seen one or two when they first aired because I got to stay overnight on occasion with a friend in a friend's house, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, and they had a TV, and we got to stay up late. It was late, 10 o'clock. Star Trek lasted just 3 years. And, of course, back then they didn't call it the original series, but that's what they call it now. So Star Trek with Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, James Doohan, William Shatner, Nichelle Nichols. It's a great group. George Takei. They're all terrific to see. Interesting to see. And it's so dated, but it's so camp. It's just great. So that's my one good thing of this week. It's great because I watch them on Amazon. They're all just archived there. You can just watch them anytime with Prime. That's it for this week's Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee. Tip of the hat, tip of the old KMUZ local radio station. I do a reggae show every Monday night. You can stream it from 6 to 8 Pacific time. It's fun. There you go. Have yourself a great week.